Most people think you cannot touch your 401k or IRA before age 59 and a half without paying a 10% penalty to the IRS. That belief is costing millions of Americans 5, 10, maybe 15 extra years at a job they no longer need to be at. Here's what almost nobody is talking about. The IRS built several legal exits into the tax code, exits that let you pull money from your retirement accounts before age 59 and a half with zero penalty. No tricks, no loopholes. These are actual sections of the tax code that most people, and even a lot of financial advisors, never fully explain to you. If you're 50 years old right now, or anywhere close, what I'm going to show you today could change your entire retirement timeline. We're going to cover three things. One, the hidden IRS rule that lets certain workers access their retirement accounts penalty-free as early as the year they turn 50. Two, the legal strategy that lets anyone, regardless of profession, set up penalty-free withdrawals from an IRA before 59 and a half. And three, the single most dangerous mistake people make with both of these strategies, the one that can trigger a retroactive tax bill that wipes out years of savings. Stay with me, because none of this is complicated, it's just never explained clearly. Here's something that might surprise you. According to data from the Employee Benefit Research Institute's 2025 Retirement Confidence Survey, 40% of Americans retire earlier than they planned, not by choice, because of health problems, a job loss, a family situation, or a company laying them off. And when that happens before age 59 and a half, most people have no idea how to access the money they spent decades saving, so they either wait and struggle, or they panic and pull money out and hand the IRS a 10% early withdrawal penalty on top of regular income tax. Think about what that means in real dollars. If you have $350,000 in a traditional IRA and you take out $40,000 to live on, and you're in the 22% tax bracket, you're already paying $8,800 in federal income tax. Add the 10% early withdrawal penalty, that's another $4,000. You just gave the IRS $12,800 out of a $40,000 withdrawal. That's almost a third of what you took out. Gone. And you didn't have to do that. There was a better way. There were two better ways, actually. And today, I'm going to show you both of them. Section 1. The secret age 50 rule most people have never heard of. Let's start with the one that affects a very specific group of people, but it's a group that's much larger than you think. The IRS has a provision called the Rule of 55. Most people in finance circles have at least heard of it. It says that if you leave your job in the calendar year you turn 55 or later, you can take money out of that employer's 401k or 403b, no 10% penalty. Not from an IRA, not from a previous employer's plan, only the plan from the job you just left. But still, no penalty. What almost nobody talks about is the age 50 exception hidden right inside that same rule. According to IRS Topic 558 and the Internal Revenue Code Section 72T10, qualified public safety employees, that means police officers, firefighters, EMTs, corrections officers, federal law enforcement officers, customs and border protection officers, private sector firefighters, and air traffic controllers can access their employer-sponsored retirement plan penalty-free starting in the year they turn 50. Not 55, 50. And here's where it gets even more specific. Per the IRS, this exception also applies if the employee has completed 25 years of service under the plan, whichever comes first, age 50 or 25 years of service. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That's a specific group. Maybe you're not a police officer or a firefighter. But consider this. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are approximately 3.5 million law enforcement, firefighting, and related protective service workers in the United States. If you or someone in your family falls into any of those categories, this is something you need to know. And here's the trap that catches people in this group all the time. Say you're a firefighter, age 52. You retire. You have $280,000 in your city's 457B plan. You think, I'll just roll it all into an IRA for flexibility. Sounds reasonable, right? The moment you do that, you lose the age 50 exception. IRAs do not qualify for this rule. It only applies to employer-sponsored plans, the 401k, 403b, or governmental plan from the job you just left. Roll it into an IRA, and you're back to waiting for 59.5, or you'll pay the penalty. This is a mistake that costs people thousands of dollars they can never get back. Before you roll anything over, check first. Now, I want to pause here for a second, because what I just told you is important for a specific group, but for everyone else watching, the teachers, the business owners, the accountants, the people who spent 30 years in private sector careers, there's a completely different tool available to you. And in my opinion, it's one of the most underused, underexplained tools in the entire IRS tax code. It's called Rule 72T, and it can give anyone access to their IRA at any age without the 10% penalty. Let me explain exactly how it works. Before we continue, please show some free love and support by hitting the like button and let me know your opinion, thoughts, or any questions if you have. I reply every single comment, and I would be very happy to help, because this channel is built specifically to help retirees. Now, let's move on. Section 2, Rule 72T, the legal strategy anyone can use. Rule 72T is a section of the Internal Revenue Code that creates what's called a SEPP plan, substantially equal periodic payments. Let me break that down in plain language. Here's what it means. If you agree to take money from your IRA in a fixed, structured series of payments, calculated using one of 3 IRS-approved formulas, the IRS removes the 10% early withdrawal penalty completely. You still pay regular income tax on the money, just like you would at any other age, but the 10% penalty disappears. And it's not limited to a specific profession. It doesn't matter where you worked. It applies to any IRA, a traditional IRA, a rollover IRA, even most 401k plans, as long as you've already separated from that employee. Let me give you a specific example of how this works in real life. Imagine a 54-year-old who spent 30 years in education. She has $650,000 in a traditional IRA. She's done. She's ready to retire. But she's worried about the gap between now and age 59.5, 5 years away. Using the fixed amortization method under Rule 72T and using the mid-2025 IRS-approved interest rate of around 5.3%, she could withdraw approximately $34,000 per year penalty-free every year for 5 years. That's $170,000 in penalty-free income, bridging the gap to 59.5. Now, there are 3 IRS-approved methods to calculate your payment amount. Each gives you a different annual number. The first is the required minimum distribution method. This gives you the smallest amount each year, and it adjusts based on your account balance. It's the most conservative and most flexible because starting in 2022, IRS Notice 2022-6 actually allows a one-time switch to this method if your other method is producing more than you need. The second is the fixed amortization method. This gives you a higher fixed payment every year, same amount every year, calculated using your account balance, your life expectancy, and an IRS-approved interest rate. This is what most people who need significant income will choose. The third is the fixed annuitization method. This works similarly to amortization and produces a comparable payment amount. It's slightly more complex to calculate and less commonly used. For a 51-year-old with $1 million in an IRA using the fixed amortization method with an interest rate of 5.14%, as illustrated by Archer Investment Management, that's an annual distribution of approximately $51,400, penalty-free. That's real income, real retirement money, before most people think they're allowed to touch it. Now, here's where I need you to slow down and really hear this, because Rule 72T is one of the most powerful retirement tools in the tax code and also one of the most unforgiving. The IRS has one fundamental rule about SEPP plans. Once you start, you cannot change it. You cannot stop it. You cannot deviate from it. And if you do, the IRS calls that a modification. And the penalty is not just on future withdrawals, it's retroactive on every single dollar you've already taken out, going all the way back to day one, plus interest. This is called the recapture tax, and it is brutal. Here's a real scenario to make this concrete. Imagine someone starts a SEPP plan at age 56. They're withdrawing $42,000 per year. 3 years in, they're 59, they think, I've made it to 59 and a half, I'm done, so they stop the payments. Not so fast. The rule requires your SEPP plan to continue for the longer of two timelines, 5 full years from the start date or until you reach 59 and a half, whichever is longer. This person started at 56. 5 years from 56 is age 61. Even though they turned 59 and a half before that 5-year mark, the plan must run until the 5-year anniversary. Stopping at 59, even though they're past 59 and a half, triggers the full recapture tax. Per Fidelity's explanation of the 72T rule, if you've been withdrawing $50,000 per year for 3 years and you make a modification, like stopping payments, we're taking $1 extra out of that account, we're contributing money back in, the recapture tax applies to the full $150,000 you've withdrawn. That's a sudden IRS bill of $15,000 plus interest that's been compounding since the first payment. Here's another trap people fall into. They set up their SEPP plan using a specific IRA. A few months later, they decide to roll an old 401k into that same IRA. Sounds harmless. It's not. Adding money to a SEPP account is a modification. The plan is busted. All prior withdrawals are now subject to retroactive penalty. The same goes for taking out even $1 more than your calculated annual amount. As BeanCount.io's 2026 analysis explains it, even if you immediately put it back, the IRS does not undo the modification. This is why, and I'm going to say this clearly, Rule 72T is a strategy you absolutely should not attempt without working through the numbers with a qualified tax professional or financial advisor. The structure must be set up correctly the first time, using the right interest rate for the right month, the right life expectancy table from IRS Notice 2022-6, not older pre-2022 tables that some online calculators still use, and the right IRA account that is completely isolated for this purpose only. All right, don't let this be another video you watch and forget by tomorrow. Here are the exact action steps to do after watching this video. First, figure out which category applies to you. If you're in a qualifying public safety profession, contact your HR department or plan administrator today and ask specifically, does my plan allow early withdrawals under the age 50 exception in IRS Code Section 72T10? Not all governmental plans are the same. Some require you to stay in the plan, not roll it over, to keep that protection. Second, if you're not a public safety employee and you're between the ages of 50 and 59 and you have a significant balance in an IRA, at least enough to generate the income you need under SEPP calculations, make a list of your IRA accounts and their current balances. You may not need to use all of them. The strategy can be set up using just one account, sized precisely to generate the income you need. Third, Do not roll over anything until you've thought through the timing. Rolling a 401k into an IRA before understanding whether it affects your eligibility for the Rule of 55 or whether you want to keep that 401k intact as a SEPP account is a decision that can either open doors or close them permanently. Fourth, search for a fee-only financial advisor or CPA who has specific experience with 72T SEPP plans. This is not the time for a general practitioner. The calculations must match IRS Notice 2022-6 exactly. The method, the interest rate month, the life expectancy table. One miscalculation can trigger a retroactive penalty years later. Before you go, I want to hear from you. What age are you planning to stop working? Are you still on track, or has life changed your timeline? I really read every single comment, and I'll reply to you right there as soon as possible. If this video gave you something you hadn't heard before, that's the whole reason this channel exists. And if you want to know about how having a pension changes everything in retirement, that video is linked on screen right now, and it connects directly to what we talked about today. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing this kind of content, and I'll see you in the next one.